Okay, I thought I'd do a brief video on abstract data types because list is the first abstract data type we're going to look at in the course. So an abstract data type isn't a concrete data structure in the sense that an array is. It doesn't dictate how the data is organized. With arrays, we know that we have to store all the items as one contiguous block, and arrays also dictate that every item in the array has to occupy the same amount of memory. So arrays are telling us how the data has to be stored. But lists don't do that. Lists are more of a conceptual idea, and they dictate the operations we can perform on the data set, not the items themselves. An abstract data type doesn't do something like say you can only multiply these items together. It's more that it dictates how we can access the items. Can we do random access? Can we get to the first item that we added? Can we get to the last item that we added? And so an abstract data type is more about behavior and what operations you can do. Now in Java, a concrete data structure like an array is usually a class. Arrays might actually be an exception to that. So you'll see as we go through the course and we look at other concrete data structures, there's usually a class for them in the JDK. When it comes to an abstract data type, normally those are interfaces, which makes sense, right? Because they're not telling you how to store the data. They're specifying behavior, and that's commonly done with an interface. And so basically, any data structure can be used to implement an abstract data type. As long as you have a class that implements the interface for the abstract data type, any class can behave like that abstract data type. So in the case of lists, any class that implements the list interface is a list. And so you could have a class that uses an array for the list. If that class implements the list interface, it can be treated like a list. You could have a class, this would be a terrible thing to do, but you could have a class that has individual fields for every item in the list. As long as that class implements the list interface, it's a list. You can treat it like a list. And so when it comes to an abstract data type, they're not concrete data structures. They don't dictate how the data can be stored, but they do dictate the operations you can do on the abstract data type. So for example, with lists say, well, you can add an item, you can remove an item, you can get the index of an item, etc. But they don't say, and this is the way you have to store the items in the list. They don't say that. So now that we have some idea what an abstract data type is, let's move on to looking at lists in the JDK. I'll see you in the next video.